What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo. And after yesterday's sneak peek, showing all three of the new Eternals that's going to be coming to the game, a lot of us really weren't sure, if we were going to get a live stream, if we were going to have any more sneak peeks, but it definitely doesn't look like we're not going to have any more sneak peeks. But we are getting a live stream, which is nice. I'm really happy to see that we are getting a live stream. These things really help hype up the updates, and as y'all know, we'll get the patch notes on this day as well. This is going to be next Tuesday on the 15th, and then you scroll down here. I mean, it's the same old typical time. I mean, for me, this is going to be 7 o'clock GMT plus 7 time. I will be streaming this on Twitch, and if you want to join me, the link is in the description below. But we already got to see what these character models look like. They look really, really great. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this live stream and seeing what all entails in it. I mean, hopefully we got some new things going on. I mean, more than likely it's probably just going to be new characters, which is all fine and dandy. But in all honesty, I feel like Marvel Future Fight really needs some changes in content, maybe some things combined. But I digress. I'll probably end up talking about that in another video. But I am very, very excited for these characters and for this live stream. So that is pretty damn lit. Now, on to something pretty damn cool. So you all know that I actually just cleared stage 30. Well, I wanted to show you another team that I can do stage 30 with, which is what this one right here. Cable, of course, because he's got that nice ignore target dodge rate leadership by 50%. And then, of course, he got CTP of energy that gives him another 40% ignore dodge. So he's pretty much got max ignore dodge at all times, which is great. And then War Machine really does come in super, super handy because of his ignore target dodge rate here. This is actually really good for himself, along with Cable's ignore dodge rate leadership. And then, of course, if he's got a CTP of energy, he gets the ignore dodge here. So he's got pretty much max ignore dodge whenever he's attacking, which is really, really nice. But the thing that's really nice about this uniform is the fact that he does, well, let me back up a little bit here. It's the fact that he does give an extra 40% all attack and the extra 30% increase of HP, which really helps Cable's survivability and War Machine's survivability to technokinetic allies, which is really, really nice. That's an amazing support passive. And then, of course, Cyclops, he does have a great leadership, but actually, for Knull, using the ignore target dodge rate leadership is actually better. I do a lot more damage when I use the ignore target dodge rate leadership versus using Cyclops in the leadership and changing my strikers. So I find it just a lot better just to use Cable's leadership. But we do get this 30% increase of energy attack passive, and we are going to be getting this CTP of Insight. And the CTP of Insight isn't maxed out. I mean, this is a increased damage to supervillain faction by 15% instead of 20. So we could have done a little bit better, but honestly, it's still a very, very tough clear. And my Cable is built pretty well. I mean, with these support passes going on, he's got 64,000 energy attack, max attack speed, crit rate says 68%, critical damage almost, well, his critical damage is actually going to be max. He does have the leadership tag, which we can't take advantage of, and he does have max everything else, right? As far as his Urus, he does have mythic energy attack Urus, and then he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Odin's Blessing, so he does have a fairly decent build on him. And I know some of you are probably wondering, well, I mean, you're using the Summer Days uniform, but can the Kid Cable uniform do it? Actually, I think the Kid Cable uniform would actually be easier than using this uniform. I think it would actually be easier because whenever you're playing with Kid Cable, he's like, he's just in and out. He does his attacks and he gets away. He does his attacks and get away. Whereas with the Summer Days uniform, you got to sit in the pocket and keep attacking and attacking. And a lot of times, because of the penetration that Knull has, he can do damage to you, right? Sometimes when those attacks hit you while you're doing your fifth skill in the Summer Days uniform, you can take a lot of damage. And in stage 30, Cable is a glass cannon, even though he has a heal on his third skill. He can take a lot of damage. Even with that 30% extra increased HP from War Machine, he still can die very easy. So I actually think this uniform is better. The only reason I'm not using it is because it's only ranked normal. I'm actually getting more damage out of the Summer Days uniform. But, a big difference between these two uniforms is in the Summer Days uniform, you got to hit the fifth skill to get this extra chain hit damage and get this extra critical damage, right? So his critical damage is going to be maxed out. But in this Kid Cable uniform, you don't have to worry about that. This is always up no matter what. You don't have to hit the fifth skill. So you'll notice when I'm playing with the Summer Days uniform, a lot of times I'll always hit the fifth skill before I do his tier 3 because I want that extra chain hit damage on the tier 3. And I also like to use this tier 3 a lot because it actually goes into an iframe. It avoids taking damage from Knull, and I find a lot of times maybe when you're doing your fifth skill, you can still get interrupted. But I mean, in Kid Cable, I mean, it really is a better uniform for this, at least in my humble opinion. I mean, the Summer Days uniform requires some careful gameplay. You gotta be really cautious about how you use this character against Knull, especially in these higher stages, because he can die relatively easy. I mean, it doesn't take much. He's got fully awakened power ring real set. He's got a mighty CTP of energy, and honestly, if I didn't have this mighty, I wouldn't be able to do this. Even with 19% pierce, even with the 6 Odin's blessings, I probably wouldn't be able to do this. You guys are going to see just how much of a close call this was. This was a pretty difficult run. It took me quite a few tries to be able to do this. And of course, the uniform is that mythic. And this is the main reason that I'm using this uniform versus the Kid Cable uniform. Those of you that are debating on whether or not on Black Friday you should buy the Kid Cable uniform, I think you absolutely should. It's still an amazing uniform. We have had it for a little while, but it's still it's every bit as strong as the Summer Days uniform, if not stronger. And honestly, in my opinion, I find it a lot easier and smoother to play. It's just, again, this uniform is at Mythic, and that's why I prefer to use it, because I'm actually getting more damage out of it because I have all the extra attack stats. So I'll go ahead and bring up this run for you guys. All right, screw that over there and hit the O play. Let's do it. Let's do it. And, you know, we just got damage to supervillain strikers because we don't need any nor dodge strikers, thanks to Cable's leadership. And then, of course, having the CTP of energy. I mean, you know, Cable, you just got to be like I said, man, you know, he's just a glass cannon. And you got to be very careful. A lot of times, whenever you do the first 2 rotations in the Summer Days uniform, you'll hit your 3, 4, 2, 5. And then I'll try to hit 3, 4, 2, 5, and then the tier 3. But a lot of times the tier 3 won't enact real quickly. So sometimes I might go, you know, it might take me till the 3rd rotation before I hit the tier 3. Something else, you know, in this first part against Knull, whenever them tentacles are smacking down, a lot of times what I like to do is I like to watch what Knull's doing. Before I go and I'm going to use my fifth skill, I watch what he's doing. Like right now, I see him raise his hand, and as soon as he raises his hand, we want to use that iframe from the 4th skill. When we use that iframe, the tentacles are going to hit in a different direction, and they're not going to hit Cable, which is going to give us a lot more survivability. I mean, you know, and then of course you got to be careful of any kind of environmental attacks like the tornadoes and what so have you. But War Machine, even in this highest stage, you know, with the regular CTP of energy, you know, I try to take damage from the toxic meteorites or whatever I can. He can still put in some pretty good work, guys. He can still do quite a bit of damage, as you all see throughout this run. I'm using both of them, but mainly it's going to be Cable, right? He's got the mighty CTP. He does more damage. I mean, and look at him go. He did the first phase in less than a minute and a half, which is pretty awesome, guys. I mean, whenever your characters are doing the first phase in a minute and a half, you pretty much know that your damage output is good enough to get the actual clear, right? And it's really good. It's really good. But I mean, you always have to take into account that sometimes you do get interrupted. Sometimes Knull will pop you a little bit. Like right there, he hit me a few times. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and switch to Cyclops because I don't want to lose anybody. Because if those attacks, like right there, if those attacks hit you, you're dead instantly. It's just poof. I mean, it's just, you're gone. It really, really sucks. But I mean, you know, and I really think that, you know, also with the Kid Cable uniform, I mean, because you don't have to worry about hitting the 5th skill before you hit the tier 3, I think it would be a lot easier to play, to be perfectly honest, instead of this Summer Days uniform. I really do. Okay, watch out, we're rolling over here. There we go. And, you know, before Knull attacks you in this phase, you always want to make sure you go on your skills before he attacks you, because sometimes when he attacks you, he can actually interrupt your 5th skill, which is pretty damn annoying, man. You lose a lot of damage because Cable's all about doing that channeling, right? He's all about having that extra chain hit damage and getting all that channeling out. And if that gets interrupted, he just loses an insane amount of damage, which is another reason why the Kid Cable uniform is actually better, because you don't have to worry about that. His 5th skill is not a channeling skill, right? It's not. It's very different. It plays very different than this one. Even though you do the same rotation, it plays differently. Come on now. What you gonna do, buddy? Okay. Now, since we don't have Cyclops, which I would use as fodder right now, we're going to go ahead and use Cable. And luckily, Cable does have fairly decent movement speed. I'm trying to squeeze in as much damage as I can. There we go. Went ahead and switched just to make sure I wouldn't lose Cable, because whenever Knull jumps and lands on you, especially in this high level, I mean, you're just dead. It really is. I mean, you really got to be super... I know I've said this quite a few times, but you got to be really, really careful when you play. Now, what I could have done there is use my War Machine, but Cable just does a lot more damage, and he's just consistent because he has the accumulation based on how much damage you deal. And War Machine, I'm just, you know, he really... whenever, you know, I've had to play this quite a few times, and I just didn't want to take the chance of trying to take damage in my proc landing early on War Machine. So I just went ahead and decided to switch to Cable a second ago because I feel it's more consistent damage, right? And it really is. It's a lot better doing it that way. Although if you can get War Machine in there and you can get his accumulation up, it's still pretty damn awesome. We're going to switch. Now we're going to go ahead and do a little damage here. And the nice thing about War Machine is we didn't really accumulate any damage there, but we got in a little bit. We did a little bit of damage, and we were able to move because of that force skill, which is something else that's really nice about that character. I mean, getting the extra HP, getting the extra 40% all attack to Cable, being able to move around during the force skill, having a very good sub DPS character. I mean, it just makes War Machine such an amazing support, at least for Cable. Just so godly for him. All right, now this is where things get rough. Now, watch how much damage we do, but unfortunately, we are going to die. You know, War Machine's a pretty tanky dude. He's got his heals, and we did a good amount of damage. You know, we took a lot of damage there, which is the reason I used him there to make sure we could try to, you know, do a lot of damage before we go in this last phase, because here we can't take any damage. So, you know, because Cable's got the damage dealt to based on how much damage you deal, that works out a lot better in this part of the phase. And I mean, we're coming down to the wire. I mean, look at that timer. I mean, and there I got in the tier 3, and boom, 2 seconds left. And this took me quite a few tries. I'm not going to lie. It probably took me about, you know, I'd say about 40 minutes or so to be able to do this, which, you know, isn't a tremendous amount. I mean, I've played other characters where it took me, you know, literally hours to get it done, right? But still very, very happy to see them getting it done. I'll be trying some other teams as far as stage 30 getting it done. But I mean, Cable still to this day, still godly. But I mean, if you don't have War Machine, that is going to hurt him later on in these later stages, because he won't have that extra support. That's something that he can really benefit from compared to the other characters. I mean, they just don't have that Technokinetic Ally tag. And you can only use blast characters at stage 30. So it's really, really nice having War Machine. So let me know how y'all feeling about Cable getting it done against stage 30. Let me know how y'all feeling about the upcoming live stream. Are you excited or not? And I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. GMT plus 7 time. The link is in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See ya.